Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum. It's just gone 20 after 9 o'clock. And in the second hour, we will be talking with Liz McDade. She's the strategic lead at the Green Connection regarding for the president to stop all offshore oil and gas projects in our waters. We'll also be talking with Peace for Peace, a family friendly, peaceful walk in support of the Palestinian situation. But first up, in the second hour, we're going to be talking with Tauriq Jenkins, and he is a member of the African Artists Against Apartheid and convener of Save Our Sacred Lands. A very good morning to you. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to the program.
Walaikum salam, Julie. Thank you very much for having me.
Lovely to have you here and heartened to see the amazing initiatives coming out of the genocide that we're experiencing right now on our brothers and sisters in Gaza, and the support being shown by our Muslim brothers and sisters, and of course, non Muslims as well, in South Africa and all around the world. So, you guys have come up with a very, very unique concept. Talk to us about it. It is entitled the Gaza Monologues.
Yes, the in Cape Town today at 10 a.m. we will be doing a reading of the Gaza Monologues. As you know, today is the International Day of Solidarity with the people of Palestine, and so this initiative is supported by African Artists Against Apartheid, Palestinian Solidarity Campaign, and Save Our Sacred Lands. And so, just to maybe give you some context in terms of what this initiative is about, the Ashtar Theatre, which is based in Palestine, due to the horrific war taking place in Gaza, has launched an urgent request to all its friends, theatre makers, and artists around the world to publicly read or perform the Gaza Monologues today. These monologues are testimonies that were written by Ashtar youth already in 2010 after the first war on the Gaza Strip. And tragically, as we know, these monologues are still accurate today. They highlight the horrors and hopes and resilience of the courageous Gazans to a wider audience, bringing out the voices of people and children in the Gaza. And so by sharing these monologues, there's a hope to create more empathy and awareness internationally. And so our solidarity as South Africans, as African artists, is what we will be commemorating and issuing today. I think it's also really important to give an opportunity for the artistic community and broader communities to engage in this kind of a very deep embodied emotional connection to these narratives that have been silenced. And these are extraordinary monologues that have been put together. They are accessible online, and anybody really can go today, log on online, choose a monologue, read it, have it filmed, even if it's on one cell phone, and then upload it. We'll be joined today by three actors who have chosen very carefully the monologues that will be performed, and this will be at 10 a.m. in Observatory, opposite the Hartley Vale Stadium, close to the River Club, by the embankments of the Liesbeek River. The reason why we've chosen this particular site is because this is an epicenter of liberation and resistance to first indigenous people. It's also the site of the breakout of the first Khoi-Dutch War, and from where dispossession took place in our country for the first time through the implementation of Roman Dutch law and title deeds, and from which genocide, massacre, forced removals, and ethnocide, occurred on indigenous people from this particular site here in Observatory. So we've also planted an olive tree, a cleansing ceremony on the site on Friday, and so we'll be performing these monologues by the river near the olive tree in commemoration of all these interlinked themes.
When I came across that piece where, where it was said that you guys are meeting at the olive tree or planting of the olive tree, what came to mind, and I do hope that it takes traction here in South Africa, is that we, in support and memory of our lost loved ones in Gaza, in Palestine, and in support of the Palestinian people, because we do know that they were prevented from harvesting their olives this year round with the start of the olive season. So I think we here in South Africa should each and every one of us buy an olive tree or as many as we can afford and start planting olive trees in solidarity with our Palestinian brothers and sisters. And once we do harvest them, those the monies can go to back to the Palestinian people. And I know I'm talking about a long-term project, but you as an artist can apply your mind to this and to your artistic community and see what you guys can come up with.
That is beautiful. In fact, we had this great discussion last night, Julie, with our cohort. You know,
Wow.
the symbolism of the olive tree is incredible. Firstly, it can grow up to 500 years, and so by us planting this olive tree, it's really our commitment towards resilience and also towards a lasting peace. What I would like to do is to have presentations of these monologues and other presentations of artistic interpretations of what's going on and how it relates to us in terms of our history of apartheid spatial planning, in terms of also of our silenced history of genocide, um, around the city of Cape Town, around the country. And every time we do that, we need to plant an olive tree. And these olive trees then will become these peaceful nodal points of resistance, peaceful nodal points of safety, as if to say symbolically and also in reality to our Palestinian sisters and brothers that these are apartheid free zones. These are places that are shared, dedicated, committed in a physical, embodied, and symbolic sense in terms of their belonging, their return, which is our belonging and our turn collectively. And I think that one of the most hurtful things that I've experienced was a few months ago when I was in the occupied territories, um, during just around the raids in Jenin. An olive tree that was about 1,000 years old in one of the villages was torched, and so the settlers had actually targeted these ancient olive trees, and by burning these trees, with explosives and so on, was really an incredibly hard thing to witness. And you can imagine families that have been there for a millennia, with these trees hold such extraordinary memory. And I think by us planting these trees here, we show a kind of solidarity to say that these olive trees are still alive, that memory is still alive, and that we will nurture each other through this together, and that we are in total solidarity with our Palestinian sisters and brothers.
Subhanallah, I think it's beautiful. I'm so glad we're on the same page, or seems like you read my mind, or vice versa, regarding the olive trees. Tell us, what were you doing in the occupied territories a couple of months ago?
So I was there part of a cohort of international human rights people. Some were human rights lawyers, others were activists, and we were there, and during that time, most of the West Bank, or certain key areas of the West Bank, and it was quite um, strange in many ways, but also one could feel that there was something brewing, just in terms of the degree of the massive upscale of attrition that was happening in these areas with these raids, and I think that in many ways you could say that this was a precursor to would inevitably come a very explosive situation, in that region.
Okay, were you there for work or a holiday or some sort of fact-finding mission? What exactly were you, or can't you talk about it?
No, I was part of an international human rights law initiative.
Ah, okay, okay.
This,
And
at the
what
office.
do you do? So obviously you go there in an observer capacity. You then, write up a report on your findings. What happens to those reports? Because surely it's a very important information that needs to be, escalated to the highest level possible for people to understand the true
Mhm.
situation on the ground in the occupied territories.
Well, we were in collaboration with a number of entities that are already working on the ground. Al Haq, for example, is one of the most respected resources in as far as gathering this kind of critical information that is then deployed by their lawyers and legal teams. They have consulted status with the United Nations, and the group that was with were a number of legal and sort of people from around the world. And I think it was really for for each one to kind of take the experience and the record of what was happening on the ground, and to create the kind of impact and awareness which is so necessary. As we see, the way the international human rights law and its application is being deployed is something that absolutely needs to be completely overhauled. In terms of its efficacy, the double standards that we are seeing on a day-to-day basis, in as far as how atrocities in one area can result in very quick, efficient responses from the United Nations and other important bodies that are answerable to international law. And then in contrast, we see this kind of deafening, sort of very slow and disjointed sort of arena of how the same kinds of laws seem not to be applied for Black and Indigenous bodies. And of course, over the last 75 years, since the Nakba, there's been a complete unprecedented slew of international human rights violations that have taken place in the region. I think when we take a look at it from an African perspective as well, how long did it take for the Darfur to be recognized as genocide? How long did it take, in terms of the situation in Rwanda, when there was, even then in 1994, in that deadly month of April, major authorities and international bodies and countries, including the United States, France, Belgium, understood what was going to happen, and the level of prophylactic action that could have taken place to prevent the killing and to stop or to at least limit these killings, were never in time. So in many ways, we are seeing a kind of historic repetition of how the worth of human life is being treated. And I think it's just important for us in every single capacity, as people, as artists, as as professionals in whatever line of work that we do, to commit ourselves to bringing about awareness and to do what we can in solidarity with the people of Palestine, from large marches to the kind of international regulatory pressure, for example, that our government has been putting the Israeli embassy under, and so on and so forth. But I also think it's important to know that there are ways too, from a very human, artistic and individual basis, around which to still contribute and to show community and empathy. And I think what we're doing here today is one of these kinds of, to attract hundreds of thousands of people, but it will certainly, I think, trigger something that is heartfelt, and that brings us back to how we really truly share these narratives as African people.
Okay, we've almost run out of time. Let me ask you a quick question, a short and sharp answer, if you don't mind, please. I'm kind of wondering, when you were in the occupied territories, when you were there a couple of months ago, did you ever imagine that you'd be witnessing a genocide in that part of the world today? You did say something was brewing. You did indicate that you could feel the tension in the air. But did you ever imagine this type of an outcome?
To be honest, at that point, the situation was unprecedented. At that point, it was so violent that level of
Already.
already that it was incredibly shocking. The um, um, I think at that stage, just the fact settlers were at whim raiding a village, villages, and if a child would so much throw a stone, back then, the IDF that were accompanying the settlers would open live fire, um, and I mean it was an incredibly tense situation, and extremely provocative, an extremely provocative range of actions that were taken
Okay,
against
Tauriq.
Palestinians at that point. So
Tauriq,
the
we'll have to
outbreak
end
of
it there,
this
unfortunately. We'll have to end it. I'm so, so sorry. Your picture's been freezing as well. But good luck for the event, which is going to be happening in about a half an hour's time. And I'm sure we will be talking again sometime soon. Thank you indeed for your time and your insights. Lovely talking with you. Till the next time, Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam.
It is 9:36 News and Views on Salam Media. Standing by to talk with us now is Yumna Imran from Peace for Peace. So we'll be joining her in a minute or two.